Okay, kids, as promised, here's my interview with Scott. Scott, welcome to Somethin Suave Theater.
Thank you.
Scott is a very avid collector of CED discs. These big things right behind me. Now, Scott, for those people who don't know, what is a CED disc?
It's a capacitance electronic disc that plays with a stylus and
Like a record.
like a record, only it has video with it, and it's highly collectible. It was on the market for 3 years, 81 through 84, and the disc actually sold from 81 to 86.
So the disc was out for 5 years.
Yes.
Okay. Why do you collect CEDs?
I bought my first player before I ever saw a VCR, and I was in an RCA store one day. Actually, I was buying tags in the little corners of the store, and I saw a giant sign of Luke Skywalker, and it said, "May the Force be with you tonight." And that got my attention, and the guy explained it to me how it worked and all that it was. And at first I thought there was a little bitty tape in there, and I couldn't imagine it being a record. But I bought it, and it just that was it. I just loved them. They are so much fun to find at the thrift stores or wherever, and to collect. I didn't have very many at first because they were so expensive. They were anywhere from $25 to $55 each.
Wow.
So I had very few of them, about 30 of them when I stopped collecting in '86. And then got back into it and realized that you can get them fairly cheaply, you know, with other collectors and online sometimes. Some of them are kind of expensive, but it's just something that gets in your blood.
As you guys know, I have a very large collection in my home, so I know I can relate to this, you know. As a matter of fact, I too used to have a CED player. Unfortunately, by the time I was collecting, I couldn't find nothing. I found the initial 200 movies and that was it. Scott, how long have you been actively collecting CEDs?
I started back in 2010 collecting, and I started buying in bulk every time I would find something on Craigslist or eBay or one of those places, or at a thrift shop, or places like where you go take the clothes and stuff. Places
Goodwill.
Goodwill.
Yeah,
Places
thrift
like
stores,
that.
yeah.
And so I've actually been avidly doing it a little over 4 years.
So what is the cheapest you ever paid for a disc?
Probably a dime.
A dime?
If you buy in bulk, if you buy 50 from somebody and a player, sometimes they just throw the disc in. If you buy the player from them, you know. So.
Now what's the most you ever paid for a disc?
$205.
What was that?
Thanks for the memories.
Man?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you go ahead. No, it's your segment.
This is a disc that was given to the employees at the Rockville Road factory in Indianapolis the day that the factory closed. And it's got a lot of scenes in it from different movies, but it's also got a visual tour of the factory. And
Wow.
it's very interesting to watch. It's my favorite, one of my favorite discs.
So that was only given out to the employees. So you're looking at maybe what, 100, 200,
100 or less probably.
And so for them to even survive, yeah.
Very rare, very hard to find, very hard to find.
Now, what is the hardest disc to find?
The story of O. They made fewer of them because the employees did not like the content. And some of them stayed home that day when they were pressing them, so they just made them for like a day. And I've only seen 2. Actually, I've only seen 1, but I know of 2 that exist.
Wow.
So that one, it's nearly impossible to find. Another one called A Walk Through the Universe. I've never seen one of those. Those are very hard to find too. I also like the collect the series. Like Star Trek has 12 of their shows on 6 discs, and 3 of the movies. This made them up to 85.
Okay, so only the first 3 movies and only 12 episodes were released.
And there's a few of MASH, one of the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and there are some TV shows, just a few, but I enjoy that.
I was going to ask if there was more than movies just released. Was there TVs?
TV shows, and there's actually some study discs. There's a disc called about the Holocaust. It's 4 discs, and it's actually got a workbook with it. and it was the plan to use them in schoolrooms. Actually, there are some discs, they say they exist, from Avon, where they were instructional videos, and those would be worth hundreds if you could find them. And they were and then the discs that they made for RCA employees, like the sampler disc that's got different samples of whatever disc that just came out or whatever, and those are fun to collect too.
Well, thank you for the interview. This is a really great collection.
I'm proud of it.
You should be. I mean, there's a lot here. Wow. And we're going to go right back to the movie. So.
This is a SGT 200 model, very common model and very popular, that came out, the first stereo player. It's very simple to operate. It's got off, play, and load. So you just pull that lever down, push the caddy in, and pull it out. It leaves the record in. This is empty, and it leaves the record in there. And you just put it up on play, and it takes off after a few seconds. And there you go. That's the logo.
And then to take it out, you just reverse.
Right. When it's over, it'll flash E, and then you just take it out and flip it over and play the second side for the second part of the movie.
Because since they only hold an hour each side, just like Laserdisc, you have to flip them over.
Right. Flip it over, and it's a good time to get your popcorn renewed. If a movie is over 2 hours, they had to be put on 2 separate discs, because each disc would only hold 60 minutes, no more. Per side. So you usually get a 2-hour movie on one disc, but this one went 2 hours and 45 minutes. So it's on 3 sides. There's nothing on the 4th side.
So the 4th side is actually blank.
Yes.
Nothing on there at all.
Right.
Okay.
This is the first demo disc that came out that if you went to buy a player at a store, you would watch segments of different movies from their players in order to get the idea of what it would be like to own a player. Our Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown was the very first disc made. In 1982, after a year of successful sales, RCA thought, they came out with stereo discs. They put them in a blue caddy, and they sent this out as a sampler for the employees, the RCA employees. And this disc has got Blondie and Star Trek. That's the only segments that's in stereo, because they never made it to stereo as the movies.
So only these segments of these discs are the stereo, whereas the discs themselves were actually mono.
Right. Of those two, the rest of the disc eventually came out in stereo. But those 2 movies never made it.
Wow.
Oh, actually, Fiddler on the Roof is one too, so there's 3 of them there.
Also, Fiddler on the Roof was mono only as well?
Mono only, yeah, first year. This is 3 of the music discs that I love. There's several concerts on here. The Girl Groups is a story of a sound, and it's got all the girl groups from the 50s, My Boyfriend's Back, and Diana Ross and the Supremes, and the Complete Beatles. It's on every other format, but it's a favorite too. And Elvis on Tour. There's several Elvis tours. Aloha from Hawaii, and several Elvis movies are on video disc as well.
Now, were all the concert DVD, or I'm sorry, now were all the concert CEDs, were they released in stereo?
No, not all of them. Blondie was not, Girl Groups was not, this was, Elvis on Tour is not stereo. There's quite a few of them that they put out the first year, and they never went back and re-released them when they did come out in stereo. But they still sound pretty good.
How many discs do you actually have?
About 1,400.
1,400? How many do you count as part of your collection? And how many of them do you sell?
Oh, I've got about 2,000. No, about 1,800. Because I've got 400 for sale. I've got an eBay store. But I have 14 in my private collection. 14? About 14, the last count.
You win.
No, Josh wins. He has all of them.
Oh, okay then. Do you know how many got made?
A little over 1,700. I'm not exactly sure. Nobody is really of the exact amount because some of them you can't find. Some of them, like the Avon disc and some World War II series that came out. There is a list of discs on CD Magic that are rumored to have been made, but they've never been seen. So they say a little over 1,700 titles, and Josh collected all of them. He collected trash and anything he could get just to collect them, and now he's buying them back, to replace the bad ones with. So,
wow.